because of you, God, that you love us, that we can be with you one day in heaven forever. Help us as we go to our classes. Help us to be attentive. Help us to learn about Jesus, to be able to teach others about it, about Him, and about His saving power. We love you so much, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, you're free to go to class.
Hello? All right. What's up, guys? So I assume most of y'all know who I am, but because I was a senior at least some of y'all's 6th grade year, but most of y'all earlier than that, or later than that. But I'm happy to be here this morning. My name is Jameson Keopf. I'm Karina's older brother, so girls, sorry you have to hear from Keopf siblings twice this week. But I am thrilled to be here. Philip reached out probably about a month ago and invited a lot of us college-age guys to come back to the youth group to speak on Sunday morning. So I know over Thanksgiving, I think y'all had Aiden, who was definitely a much fresher face than mine. And then last week, y'all had Scott. What y'all talking about Scott? Wasn't it Daniel? So some of y'all definitely don't remember last week.
Yes.
All right, so this morning, I think someone mentioned that it was mentioned on Wednesday night. This morning, we're going to be talking about Hosea. So who, don't say anything about it because we're going to get to that. But raise your hand if you think you know anything about Hosea. All right, sweet. About half of a hand. Okay. So yeah, we're going to get into that. But before we do that, with Christmas coming up, I kind of want to hear what some of y'all want for Christmas. What's some of the things on y'all's list? I saw the one's half go up some. So what's on your Christmas list, Colin?
I'm not voting first.
I love it.
Party's new album.
Oh boy. And my bad, it's Lake's Venom and stuff. Alright, who else has got something on their Christmas list? I know all y'all are wishing for nothing. Elizabeth. That's not true.
No, I didn't. I want to hear about Tim's answer.
That's what do you want for Christmas?
You.
You want me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Merry Christmas, I guess I'm here.
Mary told me to say that.
He said it first.
I'm gonna do it because I can. I'm gonna pick on Karina. Karina, what's on your Christmas list? Kit Kats. It's kind of lame. All right, someone from this side of the room. What's something on your Christmas list?
Money.
Money. Yeah, that's a good answer. Kind of basic, but that's a good answer. All right, so obviously Christmas is on Wednesday, so it's kind of relevant. But this idea is relevant to what we're going to be talking about today. A gift is a thing willingly given to someone without payment, a present. And that comes from Oxford's dictionary. Take a second, talk to the people around you, and talk about what's the worst thing that you ever got as a gift. So just take a couple minutes, and I'm going to pick on a couple of y'all. Y'all got to start getting better at speaking up this one. It's not going to be picking on y'all. Figured out what might be the worst gift you ever received. So I'm gonna go around and pick on a few of y'all. He said he already had his, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask him.
I got socks when I was 8 years old.
Socks. Socks aren't bad. You use socks every day. Like it's kind of lame. Socks are kind of lame, but like they're useful.
I got that in my grandma.
Okay. So who else thinks that they have a good answer to this question?
Jack.
Actually, both.
Yeah, actually, both. Jack got me a Ziploc full of muddy water and 30 sandals.
That is pretty bad. Yeah, you can't really do much with that. All right, anyone else? I'm sorry, picking on y'all. Hold on, raise your hand. So, Ian Dominski, what's the worst gift you ever got?
One time for the youth group Christmas exchange night, I got Dylan Whitlock's gift, and it was a jar with water, and it was melted snow apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not worse than a bag full of mud.
That's right.
Like, you can at least like hydrate. I might not would because I don't know where Mo got it from. But like, worst case scenario, you're like stranded out in the wilderness, like, that might help you survive. Yes.
One year as a joke, my dad put like a chicken's foot in a bag. Had it wrapped it.
Chicken's feet. That's about along the same ball with muddy water in the bag. Jackson Hines. I don't think you can sit over there in the corner and not get picked on. What's the worst gift you ever got?
Probably just like socks. And I was like, socks.
When I was little.
Like I don't think it
Alright. I'm gonna go all the way up to the mountain and pick on Eli.
What do I want for Christmas?
No, what's the worst gift you ever got?
The worst gift I ever got for Christmas? I don't know, bro. I've got some pretty good things. Probably like,
That is typically the point.
I don't know, probably like, I don't know. I got some like underwear one time from like my cousins, and they were like, I don't know, they were some bad underwear.
Okay. Let's do one more. Yes.
I got a pack of tuna.
You got what?
Just one pack of tuna.
Pack of tuna.
Plastic little bag.
Okay, yeah, that's if you don't, especially if you don't like tuna, that's pretty bad. So gift is something special, typically given on a rare occasion. It's supposed to be something that means something to somebody, typically through thought and effort to show care. However, sometimes, as y'all have all shown, a gift can fall short of this, and it seems like most of the time it's from the youth group at Christmas party.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because I've been on that side of things a couple times. I'm trying to think of everything. I can think of 3 of the 4 things I ever got out of the youth group Christmas party. One, it was a notepad with a googly eye on it, and it said iPad, and they had hot glued a pair of earbuds to it. So I got an iPad. The second thing is also really funny because it's still up in the youth building today. It's that picture that has the head dog. I hung it up like after the party because I didn't want to take it home. Actually, no. I took it home and hung it up in the house and waited to see how long it would take for someone to notice. And then I was like, I don't really have any other use for this, so I hung it up here. And it's still here to this day, even though it hasn't been in the youth group for 4 years. Yeah. And then the last thing I got was probably the thing Hudson wanted the most that year, was a picture of Ty Friedenthal, which hung up there for a bit over the opening here, but I'm guessing he or somebody took it down or she stole it. So I'm not going to make y'all share y'all's worst gift without sharing mine. So who knows like what fish flops are? Okay. So like inherently, it's a really funny gift, and it's not bad, I guess. However, it's kind of like one of those things you give as a gag gift, and like it doesn't really mean that much. And like especially when you get it from like your best friend, it's like not very special. And in addition to that, they're just not like comfortable to wear, and they were like 2 sizes too small for me. So one of my good friends gave me not even the cool bass ones. They were like the red snappers, like the red snapper fish flops, and they're really uncomfortable. And that might have just been because they were 2 sizes too small. But I never used them, and so I just gave them to Michael eventually. And so he's actually worn them out in public probably a few times now, which shouldn't surprise you if you know my brother. So I wanted to start off with this idea of gifts and what you want for Christmas and what's the worst thing you ever got. Kind of because we're going to be talking about someone in the Bible who kind of got one of the worst gifts ever. And also because, Christmas is in a couple days. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about Hosea this morning, and Hosea is one of the prophets in the Bible, in the Old Testament, specifically one of the minor prophets, which just means his book is shorter than the major prophets. That's all it is to it. But in a manner of speaking, Hosea got a pretty not-so-good gift from God. And if you know anything about the story, you know that that's his wife, which is a weird thing to be like the worst gift ever. But in this case, it is. So I'm going to go ahead and if y'all go ahead and turn to Hosea. It's after Daniel, and I believe right before Joel, if that helps. And then, if anyone wants to volunteer and read verses 2 and 3 of the first chapter, I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, I might just pick on one of you at random.
You said 2 and 3 of the first chapter?
Yes.
When the Lord first spoke through Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, "Go, take to yourself a wife of whoredom, and have children of whoredom, for the land commits great whoredom by forsaking the Lord." So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son.
So yeah, Hosea he's told by God he has to go marry a woman who sells herself for money. And I don't think any person on earth wants to hear that. That's not the best thing he could have heard that day. And in addition to that, it's not really a gift because he still has to pay the marriage price at the time. It's a very customary thing to do for a guy to pay money to the family to marry a woman. So he isn't even really getting Gomer for free. And then in addition to this, Hosea has 3 children. Let's see, if someone would read verses 4 and 5 of the same chapter. Yeah.
And the Lord said to him, "Call his name Jezreel, for in just a little while I will punish the house of Jehu for the blood of Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. And on that day I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel."
Okay, so what we're going to start seeing is each of Hosea's children are kind of named something a little different. And Jezreel happens to be the most normal name out of the 3. It's the most Bible-sounding name, if you will. And that's because Jezreel was actually named after like a battle that happened in ancient times. And so what is kind of being implied here is I kind of did some research, and it's like a way of putting Jezreel's name. This doesn't translate to it, but it's God scatters because of the valley, the battle at the valley of Jezreel, and eventually the Assyrians scattered all of the Israelites. I'll read 6 and 7, but if someone wouldn't mind going ahead and turning to 8 and 9, I'll have you read that after I get through these 2. So does anyone mind reading 8 and 9?
I got it.
You got it? Okay, I'll let you know when to read that then. So 6 and 7 are about
Hosea's daughter. She conceived again and bore a daughter, and the Lord said to her, Call her name No Mercy, for I no more have mercy on the house of Israel, to forgive them at all. But I will have mercy on the house of Judah, and I will save them by the Lord their God. I will not save them by bow or by sword or by war or by horses or by horsemen. So, like I said, I think No Mercy is kind of a bit of a weird name. Obviously, at the time, they didn't speak English. That's not how her name was pronounced. Her name was actually pronounced, I'm going to try not to butcher this. Okay. Feel free to laugh if you think it's funny, because I'm probably able to say this real bad. Loruhama. All reliable, that's bad. No, I gotta get somebody. So yeah, that translates roughly in modern day English to No Mercy. And here, it's kind of God saying, He's not going to give mercy to Israel anymore. He's kind of going to turn to Judah. But then He kind of is still saying, like, this is the way I take it at least, He's still not going to save them from, like, physical threats. It's more of a spiritual sense in terms of saving. And then if you don't mind reading 8 and 9 real quick.
She had weak no mercy, she conceived and bore a son. And the Lord said, Call his name not my people, for you are not my people, and I am not your people.
Alright, so yeah. And I'm going to try this name as well, with what it originally was in Hebrew. This one's a little easier. It's Lo-Ami. And like he said, that translates roughly to mean not my people. And as he also said, this is kind of God saying to Israel through Hosea that Israel's turned their back on Him, and therefore God is no longer really their God. And so you see this kind of symbolism throughout Hosea. He's not as publicly like a guy who's going to get up and tell Israel like what's going on and prophesy to them. God uses Hosea a lot more through a metaphor of his life. He uses his children as kind of like his prophecies, as what is going to come and his message. But he also uses Hosea's marriage as an example. And you kind of see this starting in the 2nd chapter. So we're going to get back to kind of all these ideas, but I want to go ahead and move on to the comparison with Hosea's marriage. So can I get 3 people to read then this section of chapter 2? I need 3 readers. If you'll read verses 1 through 4 of chapter 2, I need somebody else. Yes, if you'll read 4 through 8, and then if you'll read 9 through 13. Luke, you ready? Alright, you can go ahead with verses 1 through 4.
Consider, brethren, my people, and to your sisters mercy is shown. Bring charges against her mother, bring charges. For she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away her harlotries from her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts. That I strip her naked and expose her as in the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with force. I will not have mercy on her children today, or the children apart.
For their mother has played the whore. She who conceived them as accidentally. For she said, I will go after my brothers, who give my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. Therefore I will hedge out her way with thorns, and I will build a wall against her, so that she cannot find her path. She shall pursue her lovers, but not overtake them. She shall seek them, but not find them. Then she shall say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it was better for me than now. And she did not know that it was I who gave her the grain, the wine, and the oil, and who lavished on her silver and gold, which they used for them.
Therefore I will take back my grain in its time, and my wine in its season, and I will take away my wool and my flax, which were to cover her nakedness. Now I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no more shall rescue her out of my hand. And I will put an end to all her mirth, her feasts, her new moons, her Sabbaths, and all her appointed feasts. And I will lay waste in her vines and her fig trees, of which he said, These are my wages, which my lovers have given me. I will make them a forest, and the beasts in the field shall devour them. And I will punish for the feast days of the Baals, which she burned offerings to them, and adorned herself with her ring and jewelry, and went after her lovers, and forgot me, declares the Lord.
All right, so this entire section of Hosea sounds like it's only talking about Gomer, Hosea's wife. And it's not entirely true that is the case. This is all kind of pointing back to her actions, which are that after being married to Hosea, having his children, for whatever reason, Gomer decides, I'm not about this life. I'm going to go back to what I was doing. So she leaves Hosea. She goes back and starts doing her sinful things, being with other men for money. And that's like, despite being given a home and a family and a place to be, and a husband who's going to provide, she decides, I'm going to go make some money in a sinful way. But this is also reminiscent of God's relationship with the Israelites. If you know anything about the Old Testament, it's pretty common. You see, you've got the Israelites. They're with God. They're doing great. They're with God in the good times, and then they're like, oh, we're doing great. It's got to be because we're good. That ain't got nothing to do with God. So they start going astray. They start worshiping other gods. They start doing sinful things, and then eventually it gets the better of them, and it catches up to them, and then they're in the bad times. It gets to the point where when you get to Nehemiah, the walls of Jerusalem are all broken, the city's pillaged, and no one's living there, all because of the sinful stuff that Israel had been doing. And then eventually, they come back around to God. It's just a cycle that keeps repeating itself. And that's kind of what God is using Hosea to represent to the Israelites. It's like, hey, and the analogy of marriage, God is married to the Israelites. They're His people. And time again, they go looking to other religions, other gods, for what they want, what they need, when He's already there providing it. So this analogy is kind of reminiscent of some stuff today, but I'm going to save that for a few more minutes. I'm going to read the entirety of chapter 3, but it's a short chapter. It's like 5 verses. If you want to go ahead and turn there and follow along, I'm going to go ahead and read it though. And the Lord said to me, Go again, love a woman who is loved by another man and is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, that they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a lethech of barley. And said to her, You must dwell as mine for many days. You shall not play or belong to another man. So I will also be to you. For the children of Israel dwell many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or household gods. Afterward the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God, and David their king, and they shall come in fear to the Lord and His goodness in the latter days. So we see that despite all the things that Israel and in turn that Gomer has done to God and Hosea, that's not going to be the end of it. He's not going to let them walk out and be done forever. God says, You're leaving me, but I'm not leaving you. In a very similar sense to the marriage vows, He's taking it very seriously. And likewise, He calls on Hosea to do the same. He makes Hosea go back out, find his wife who's not been faithful to him, and He makes him buy her back. So not only did Hosea start off being told, you have to go marry an unfaithful woman, you have to pay the marriage price, and she's going to have your children, but she's also going to leave you and you're going to have to pay to buy her back. So really, like I said, this is kind of one of the worst gifts you could have ever been asked to receive. Hosea not only had to buy her initially, he had to buy her again after she was being unfaithful to him. And so this, I want to wrap this up in 3 points. We've got about 15 minutes, so if we're done early, that's fine. You all didn't hang out for a few minutes, whatever. So I'm going to wrap it up with 3 main points real quick. And this goes back to the connection that I pointed out a few minutes ago. We are Gomer. Obviously, I hope none of y'all are going around being adulterous, but in the spiritual sense, we are all Gomer. Despite starting off with the comparison of our worst gift and Hosea's worst gift, we are the worst gift, if you will. Time and time again, we fall short of God's grace and fall back into sin despite knowing the gospel, despite knowing salvation. I'm not going to read the whole verse, but y'all know the verse. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Unless I'm mistaken, that applies to every single person in this room. Obviously myself included. I'm going to be the first to admit that. I struggle every day with sin. And I don't think that should be a secret to anyone else. So we are all Gomer. Secondly, we all deserve God's judgment. God has the ability to scatter us. God has the ability to show us no mercy and to not allow us to be His people. In fact, it's really what we deserve. There is no way for us to avoid this fate on our own. I'm going to read part of Romans chapter 3, verse 20, I'm going to read Romans 3 and then part of verse 22 and verse 23 real quick. You don't have to turn there, I'm going to read it real quick. For there is no distinction, like I just said this verse again, for there is no distinction, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's nothing we can do, nothing that you or I can do to avoid deserving God's judgment. But, and this is the last point here, this is the main point. If you're going to hear anything I say today, hear this please. Like Gomer, we are redeemed instead by Jesus' sacrifice. We could have been left to the wrath of God for living a life of sin. However, God's provided us a path out of that. Just like He did for the Israelites, for a time at least. Excuse me. He's provided us a plan to escape this. Like Gomer, we have no right to a better fate. But through God, we're able to receive salvation, and this is the greatest gift we could ever receive. So, forget the socks, forget the money bag of water, or whatever it was, and a jar of melted snow. Even though those are the worst gifts you probably ever received, it's worth it to have salvation. I'm going to reread that passage from Romans, but I'll go a little bit further down to part of verse 25. So I'm just going to read it real quick again. For there is no distinction, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But here's the important part. And are justified by His grace as a gift through the redemption of Jesus Christ, whom God put forward as a propitiation of His blood to be received by faith. And then I'm also going to read John 3:16, which is another common verse, but I'm going to read verse 17 as well. Alright. So John 3:16 and 17. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have eternal life. For God did not send His Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world may be saved through Him. So again, I'm going to repeat these 3 points real quick. We are Gomer. We've sinned, we fall short all the time. And secondly, there ain't nothing we can really do about that. And unfortunately, in our nature, we need to try to avoid that. We need to try to do better. But there isn't really anything we can do. We're going to sin again. The key thing is trying not to. And we can't do anything to deserve grace. Sorry. No. And lastly, we are redeemed through Jesus. We're provided a path out of a life that we deserve, a life that we have no part to partake in. And so this is the story of Hosea, but also kind of applied to the modern day understanding of the gospel. And so I hope that you enjoyed hearing about this. I encourage you, obviously we only really went through Hosea chapters 1 through 3, but I encourage you in your own time, go back. There's a few more chapters of Hosea. I encourage you to go back and read those at some point. In fact, and not that I'm going to be able to hold you accountable anyway, but make it your homework this week to read the rest of Hosea. Or at least skim through it. Because despite the fact that the message is to the Israelites, the message still applies to us very well today. And that's what I tried to represent to y'all this morning by making comparisons to Israel's shortcomings, but our shortcomings today. So I guess we can close in prayer. Y'all still got about 10 minutes, I think, before the bell rings. But as long as y'all aren't going to be loud and disturb the middle schoolers, just chill, keep talking to your friends. But